When you hear the name Romanov, the first thing that comes to your mind is the last Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II. But did you know there were more than just him in the family? In today's video, we will look at 10 interesting facts about the Romanov family. Make sure you stick around until the end. Let's get started. Number 10. The family name. The Romanov family was not known by the name Romanov until 1613. Until then, they were called simply the House of Holstein-Gottorp. It was only after Michael Romanov became the first Russian monarch of the Romanov dynasty that the family officially changed their name. So why did they change their name in the first place? Well, the last official ruler from the previous royal family, the Rurikevich, died without an heir. And so the Zemsky Sobor, which was the highest governing body in Russia at the time, looked for a new monarch. After much deliberation, they decided that Michael Romanov, who was the son of a previous deposed monarch, was the best choice for the job. The problem was, he wasn't Russian, he was German. This led to people believing that his last name, which was quite German-sounding, would be hard to pronounce for Russians. This is the reason why they opted for the name Romanov. And that is also where the name originated. Number 9. A very young monarch. While we are still on the topic of Michael Romanov, let's look at an interesting fact about him. You see, when he came into power, he was only 16 years old. To make things worse, he didn't want to be the monarch in the first place. Yes, you heard that right. When the Zemsky Sobor asked him if he would like to become the new Tsar of Russia, he refused. At first, he tried to turn down the offer because he was only a teenager and didn't feel capable enough to handle such a big responsibility. He also didn't want to leave his life in Germany behind. But seeing as he was the best option for the throne and no one else wanted it, he finally accepted. Number 8. The Lost Curses. One of the most famous curses in history comes from a man named Gregory Rasputin. If you don't know who he is, he was a self-proclaimed holy man who came into the life of the last Russian monarchs during the turbulent days of World War I. He was famous for being able to cure Alexei, the son of Nicholas and Alexandra, from his bleeding disorder. But later, he was blamed for starting the fall of the Russian monarchy. And as he was leaving the capital for St. Petersburg, someone shot him 4 times. He survived all 4 attempts on his life. This led many people to believe that Rasputin was immortal and cursed the family for trying to kill him. History tells us that the Romanov curse has already come true. But what if it hasn't? What if it will happen again? Number 7. A son is born. The Romanov family curse seems to follow the family even into the next century. As we mentioned before, Alexei Romanov was born with a bleeding disorder. This put him in great danger as any little cut or bruise could prove to be fatal. Even the smallest scratch could lead to a long and painful death. His parents did everything they could to keep him safe and prevent him from getting hurt. But unfortunately, he had an accident while playing with his sister and cut himself badly. Despite everyone's best efforts, he passed away soon after. The grief-stricken parents were devastated by the loss and couldn't deal with another tragedy. However, fate had other plans. Just a few years after burying their son, Nicholas and Alexandra welcomed their youngest child, another son, whom they named Dmitry. Number 6. The last sibling. Before we move on to the tragic ending of the Romanov family, let's talk about Anastasia. As you already know, Anastasia was the sister of Alexei. She was very close to her brother and was very protective of him due to his illness. That's why she was careful to avoid putting him in danger. But as children do, she sometimes forgot about her promise to be careful and would tease her brother. Little did she know that this would be the last time she ever got to see him alive. Just like her brother, Anastasia was very attached to her parents and would often be seen spending time with them. She loved her father dearly and would always go to him whenever she had a problem or needed advice. Unfortunately, both Anastasia and her mother would not get the chance to say goodbye to the last Russian monarch. When the family was taken into custody by the Bolsheviks, Anastasia was out celebrating with some friends, and her mother was visiting her husband in prison. Number 5. The fall of a dynasty. When the Russian Revolution happened, Nicholas II was in charge of the country. As you can probably imagine, he wasn't too happy with the idea of sharing his power with someone else, especially a bunch of angry communists. This led to a lot of tension between him and the Bolsheviks, who eventually grew tired of him staying in power and took over the government. Nicholas II was forced to abdicate the throne, giving up his power once and for all. From that day on, he and his family were no longer royalty, and were now free to do whatever they wanted, or so they thought. The Bolsheviks didn't let the family go and kept them under their watchful eye. They were moved from place to place and were never allowed to settle down. Number 4. The execution. On April 1918, the former royal family left Yekaterinburg and headed to Tobolsk. Their plan was to find some peace in the countryside and live a quiet life there. Unfortunately, this was not meant to be. A year later, the Bolsheviks caught wind that anti-communist groups were looking to rescue the family. This led to them deciding to execute the entire Romanov clan. On the night of July, the family, along with their servants, were woken up in the middle of the night and told that they had to leave immediately. No one knew where they were going or why they had to leave in the middle of the night. All they knew was that their lives were in danger. After a long journey, they arrived at a log cabin. They were told to wait outside while their belongings were brought inside. After some time, they were let in and told to sit down. Suddenly, armed men entered the room and told them to stand up. They were then marched outside and shot. Number 3. The aftermath. After the execution, the bodies of the Romanov family were thrown into a nearby mine shaft. The area was then bombed to prevent anyone from finding the remains of the family. For many years, people were unsure whether the family was actually dead or if some of them had managed to escape. Rumors spread that Anastasia had survived the execution and was living in hiding. These rumors led to many people claiming to be Anastasia, hoping to collect the reward that had been put up for finding her. The remains of the Romanov family were found in 1991, 73 years after the execution. The bones were identified as belonging to the family through DNA testing and were given a proper burial. Number 2. A royal love story. When Nicholas II married, the wedding was considered to be the event of the century. Everyone wanted to see the young couple and their families. It was a beautiful ceremony, and all the guests were in awe of how much the newlyweds looked alike. How did the two lovebirds meet, you ask? Well, it was love at first sight. Nicholas and Alexandra met for the first time at a railway station in Copenhagen. They were both on their way to a party and had decided to take the train instead of riding on a horse. As they entered the station, their eyes met, and they knew right then and there that they were meant to be. Soon after meeting, their families started talking about the possibility of marriage. Everyone was happy for the two and couldn't wait for the wedding to take place. And finally, number 1. A legacy of royalty. The Romanov family ruled over Russia for over 300 years. They were responsible for some of the greatest achievements in Russian history, including the construction of St. Petersburg, the defeat of the Polish invasion, and the expansion of the Russian Empire. But perhaps their greatest legacy is the impact they had on Russian culture. The Romanov family was known for its love of art and culture. They commissioned some of the greatest works of art ever created, including paintings, sculptures, and music. They also played a key role in the development of Russian ballet and opera. The Romanov family was also known for its patronage of the arts. They provided financial support to artists and intellectuals, allowing them to pursue their work without the worry of poverty. This led to a flourishing of creativity during the Romanov era, and many of Russia's greatest writers, artists, and composers were produced during this time. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.